as Donald Trump's Department of Justice continues to see a mass exodus of its lawyers and its staff, and anyone who's really talented has either been fired or is leaving or quitting or being pushed out. We're seeing filings like this that I've never even heard of before. Motion to withdraw, motion to voluntarily dismiss appeals. Motion to withdraw, motion to voluntarily dismiss appeals. Now, this relates to the Trump regime reversing course again in litigation of Trump executive orders targeting major law firms, one day after moving to drop the appeal aimed at reviving the orders. The Department of Justice now asked to keep going with the appeals. Now, if that sounds incredibly confusing, that's because it is, because this Trump DOJ has literally zero credibility. So as you know, the Trump regime put all these executive orders out where they targeted specific law firms based on Donald Trump retaliating against law firms that previously had cases against him or had prominent lawyers who had cases against them. This was a tool by Donald Trump to try to coerce other law firms to bend the knee and to enter into these massive settlements with him, where lots of large law firms lost their credibility. Then there was the law firms that stood up to Trump despite these executive orders, fought back, and they filed lawsuits against Donald Trump in court, saying that it was unconstitutional to target law firms and lawyers and remove security clearances because Trump doesn't like them. Now, the law firms that filed the lawsuits against Donald Trump and his regime, they won. They won big. And Donald Trump was excoriated in order after order by federal Judge Beryl Howell or any other judge that touched these cases, although they were mostly consolidated in front of Judge Beryl Howell. So then Trump filed a frivolous appeal to the Court of Appeals, the DC Circuit, saying, we want to keep these executive orders in place. It was so frivolous, it was so embarrassing, and the Trump regime has other cases in front of the DC Circuit Court of Appeal that at least someone with perhaps a scintilla of a brain cell at the Trump DOJ said, you know what, this is a really bad look for us to appeal this to the DC Circuit. I mean, these law firms that we've attacked have prominence in the legal community. The judges are very sympathetic to these law firms. We've already lost all credibility. This is not the one to bring. We're going to lose. Why would we even fight this? We're going to lose big. And so the Trump regime announced what we've, not in a case that was based on such horrible behavior before, but in the past where the DOJ doesn't have a case or they think they're going to lose on appeal, they're supposed to. The tradition is you just dismiss it. You suck it up. You take the L. That happens sometimes. And the case gets dismissed. So this time the Trump regime agreed to voluntarily dismiss their appeal of their loss in the lower court where they were sued for these unlawful executive orders. And then people were like, wow, they actually did the sensible thing. Like, I'm not sure we should respect them for doing the sensible thing because of how atrocious they behave, but people are like, okay. But then yesterday or today, when I'm recording this, then the Trump regime files in the district court, in the Court of Appeals for the DC Circuit, motion to withdraw, motion to voluntarily dismiss appeal. So they reversed course and said, ignore our motion to withdraw. We didn't mean what we filed. Like, do you realize how embarrassing that is? They said, dismiss the case. Then they filed, oopsies, don't dismiss the case. And now their plan is to what? Argue in front of the DC Circuit, who they just said that they want to dismiss the case, that they have a meritorious appeal. Their appeal was already incredibly frivolous. And now they've filed a dismissal saying that it should be dismissed. And now they're saying, oopsies, we made the mistake. So to me, if you are the law firms who now are being dragged into this again, I feel like in your papers, you should at least drop a footnote saying this is sanctionable conduct. And not only DC Circuit, when you find this frivolous, to dismiss it, but you've got to take serious action against the lawyers who are putting their names behind this. I want to call in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. Now, Harry, one of the things that you and I have been covering is all these DOJ lawyers leaving, and now they're being replaced by people who are willing to make filings like this. And frankly, if you're willing to put your name on a filing like this, that's the equivalent of like knowingly putting yourself through the legal meat grinder. I don't care what you have literally just lost all credibility by signing your name to such a document. I don't care who you are. I mean, it's wild, Harry. Talk to us about it.
Yeah. So talk about the gang that couldn't shoot straight. This is a debacle, and yet it happened. And I think there has to have been a lot of political muscle behind the scenes. First, your point is right, Ben, that the withdrawal of an appeal, that's often a righteous thing if they conclude they're wrong. But in this case, such a high profile case, and these are the 4 law firms who took him on and did not buckle and really fought through in a defiant way, as opposed to the 9 or so big ones who did. That's a huge controversy within the legal industry. This was a big case, and in order to withdraw the appeal, I think it had to be the Solicitor General, John Sauer, who looked at it soberly and said, oh man, we are going to get clobbered. The law firms are making First Amendment claims about how this is all done based on viewpoint and the conditions that they're trying to impose. You have to do this pro bono work that I say you have to do, and you have to stop these DEI practices that I say are DEI practices. And in addition to those claims by the law firms themselves, there were Sixth Amendment problems because they were keeping clients from having the clients of their choice. Anyway, it's already, when, as of this morning, the Wall Street Journal had this big scoop, they're withdrawing, and there was this very sort of bare bones, oh yes, we, never mind, we are withdrawing these 4 big cases. Something happened in the next few hours, and I think it had to involve Pam Bondi. I don't think would have the muscle to do this. And I think it had to involve the White House, maybe through Blanche. So somebody persuaded Trump, somebody with a lot of muscle, that this looks like you're turning tail and completely surrendering, or, maybe the Paul Weishead guy called it and said, what the hell are you doing to us? You're making us look like the craven capitulators, and you're actually not even fighting these others. Somebody had a political